Happy Monday, guys. How are you? I've been a busy bee creating candles and being invited to lovely things that friends are hosting, and 'tis the season. It's creations, oils, sprays, full moon things, all the things. I hope you've been well. We are, we're in the swing of the retrograde, Mars and Mercury fully with us. So now here we are, Mars is tricky. That's egoic, aggressive, full of willpower. And going in retrograde is very interesting. Slow down to maybe the things that we want to push, whether those be responses, storylines. And hello, with this many planets in retrograde, it makes me think about Spirit chiding us to not aggressively push against things that we've been asked to release. Ooh, I feel it on many levels. Aggression is not going to get us very far right now, is what I'm hearing. We still have Venus and Virgo. It's funny. Hello, Mercury retrograde. Listen, Mercury retrograde is so much deeper than like struggles with, what am I saying? Communication. Here's my blank was like, my mind, wow, my mind went blank. Hello, Mercury retrograde. What I was saying is it's so much deeper than that. Oops, wonky emails, weird electronics, lack of connection, everything going weird, communication not as streamlined as it should be, all these things, right? But Mercury retrograde is deeper as well than that. But I will say, here we go, trying to connect to Wi-Fi and get things going and set up, might pull up my lunar charts, my astro charts. I usually have those beside me on the laptop, and I couldn't get it connected, but you know what? It's all good. Venus is still in Virgo. We came out of a full moon in Pisces that was heavily Neptunian influenced. So we are on the downswing of that. I think Virgo season as a whole has been really helpful to me. I don't know about you as far as getting my ducks in a row, making decisions on crossroads type energy. Oh, speak of the Virgo season, Hermit card wants to come out. I think Venus in Virgo has been really good personally. And seeing the Hermit card here, we're thinking about all these planets that we have in retrograde, rewind, revision, refocus, revisit, remember. Venus and Virgo, because Venus, that's your archetype of goddess of love and beauty and where we find pleasure, and it can be sensuality and sexuality. It doesn't have to be, it can be, it can be just what gives us joy, what brings us pleasure in any capacity, and what we want to look like and feel like in a capacity of pleasure and joy and happiness, What things do we find beautiful? And Venus in Virgo, it's kind of like looking back within ourselves to do a little bit of cleanup work within our own heart space, within our own self-worth, and within our own value. Venus and Virgo can kind of have us pulling back within ourselves and looking at our daily routine, looking how we can be more efficient, looking how we can restructure, how we can kind of play cleanup a little bit. We've been in that energy for a couple weeks now, and we still are. And with this many planets in retrograde, this can have us almost kind of doing that on the inside, internally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I think the Pisces full moon was great in that it had a lot of mystical, deep divine feminine power, a lot of intuition, a lot of psychic energy to it, dreams and everything. Man, on a side note, man, my dreams have been crazy for like a couple days now, but I don't know about you. Whew, I thought that would be more right around the full moon for me, but it kind of reverberated out into like right after the full moon. Woo, dark ones too. But on the shadow side of a Pisces moon with a lot of Neptunian influences, it can be very spiritual bypassing. There can be a lot of how can I dip my head into the sand. Ooh, major arcanas. Okay, we have the Hermit, the Emperor, and the excuse me, I'm sorry, the Judgment. Wow. So we've got a lot of, I'm sorry, what was I saying? Oh, I was saying about the Pisces full moon within Neptunian influence and a lot of other things that were going on around that chart, especially a lot of planets still shuffling down to retrograde, was that sometimes Pisces, Neptune in the shadow side can be drinking, addictions, a way to spin out, put our heads in the sand and bypass what we don't want to face, what we're feeling deep down in the watery heart space and the subconscious space. Pluto also being in retrograde, wanting us to dig deeper into a lot of the skeletons in the closet and those type of energies. So a Pisces full moon on the shadow side with a lot of Neptunian influence is what we've just come out of. Mind you, can be hard to handle if you have not really actively been doing your shadow work. And so I know that that may have hit on a way different note for some people than others. So either way, I'm with you. I'm sending you all my love. Venus and Virgo is continuing to redirect ourselves back into how we love ourselves. And for me, that's a really important part of a lot of shadows, a lot of trauma, a lot of energy like that. Burning some Palo Santo for us. And we have sandalwood there as well. But yeah, it's very interesting to see this Monday coming up with the Hermit, the Emperor, and then the Judgment card. I think it's very interesting. What jumps out to me immediately is how the moon cycle goes from here. That's probably the sun, but in my mind, I thought of it going from waxing to full, almost like cyclical completion, like and the crossroads between the cyclical completion being very inward focused, very solitude, soul searching, and then coming over to the point here in the Judgment card where it's kind of like, all right, it's time to rise up out of the old casket and come back alive with a major soul epiphany. You know, that's a very, very big higher alignment. I've had a massive epiphany from my soul. You know, I've had a different self-consciousness type of awakening. And in the middle, what we find is the Emperor. And I relate to energies that come from the Emperor as a whole, especially in Virgo season. I'm a Sun Aquarius, Moon Aquarius, Leo rising, and then I have lots of air in my chart. I have, oh man, it's very airy, a lot of air, fire too. So for me, energetic boundaries is a huge energy. I've always associated the Emperor with putting up the proper boundaries, whether that's spiritual, emotional boundaries, and we have to bring those down and embody those physically as well. Or, you know, whether it's boundaries we need to place on ourselves as far as setting structure. You know, divine masculine energy is very structured, is very disciplined, is very problem solving, is very focused. And sometimes we have to call on these. If we're sitting too heavy and more of a hermit energy, is almost too much on the shadow side of the Hermit. I would say too much self-reflection. You know, maybe with that full moon, we did a lot of deep internal subconscious work. We worked with our divine feminine. We all have divine feminine, divine masculine, yin and yang inside of us. And we all have that inner work to do. So we're all striving for balance, which is also really important in Virgo season when you're doing cleanup and you're checking your list and you're looking at things that need to be completed. Sometimes it's okay to counterbalance, the self-reflection with the structured daily routines. Okay, well, I self-reflected on a lot, so then now where do I discipline myself to make the decision? Well, I've isolated through the self-reflection, through the ritual work, through the shedding, through the release, through the empowerment, what have you, whatever intention you are working on a full moon, right? Ideally, that's a lot of celebrating the work I've already done, releasing the things that didn't serve me, reflecting, letting go, clearing out, so we can prepare to wane into the dark moon and do our banishing, right? Anyway, so talks for another video. But what I think is important too is after we and spoken from a true moon in Aquarius, y'all. Okay, sun and moon in Aquarius, and we won't even get into some other very Plutonian things in my chart. But big on the self-reflection, big on the overthinking, big on the let's reflect some more, let's draw 3 cards. Let's draw 3 more to clarify. Can we clarify the clarification? Okay, let's write in our second journal now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like. So I think it's an interesting message that sometimes the soul epiphanies, how we want to arise, as we shed, we also want to arise. You don't want to shed and then lay in the dead carcass and then keep thinking about everything that killed you. You want to arise. What is that song coming to mind? Something, I'll rise up. Da, 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 da. We want to rise up, right? So sometimes we have to find the balance in the middle, the structure to do so. All right, well, what is the Pisces full moon gave me this gift? When I laid down with the moon card in the waters and I chose to float, I moved with my divine feminine intuition. I gracefully accepted and then released. I was given gifts of reflection, etc. Right? So now, how do we come... And I'm thinking, once I'm hearing something about the Mars retrograde, okay, Mars retrograde I think is important, and this is why I'm hearing this intuitively. Mars retrograde is important right now too, because Mars can again be very egoic, be very aggressive, almost forceful with you. We're not forcing the epiphany. We're combining that inner reflection, that solitude, and that deep inner lamp that we went back to and found in our full moon work and our Pisces work. I think we're being encouraged not to force it, but to just find structure. What is the action that I can take today? If I had to list top 3 things that I found resolve on by the reflection or the release of the full moon work, what actions do I need to take? Are there things I need to clear out of my home, clear out of my body, clear out of my mind and or my spirit? Let's do that work. Let's make concrete actions. Is there cleaning and clearing that needs to be done? Are there things left undone on lists that need to be checked off? I don't know why I'm hearing cleaning and clearing like a lot. So if that resonates with you, maybe that's a message. So we need to find the balance of the structure. We don't want to still wade too heavily, too much in self-reflection is always a great daily practice. Meditation, journal work, all these tools, time in our sacred space are great. As long as we're not using that to where it's like, are we even finding the lamp, or are we just too deep in the water? We're not even guiding ourselves. Are we doing productive work? So we need the balance of structure inside. And I think that those 3 cards are very appropriate, considering that we're going to approach the season on the wheel of the year of Mabon and the autumn equinox here, 21st, 22nd. So we're getting ready to officially enter fall, and I always like to remind people, if you're following not the marketed calendar, etc., if you're thinking about the wheel of the year, when we used to measure it by the moon and the movements of the sun in the sky and stuff like that, we were working out with the land. We viewed Mabon time, you're thinking, excuse me. Ooh, excuse me, guys. Let me grab my water. I have a coffee, but I need some water. My little mason jar. So yeah, on the wheel of the year now in this September, mid-September, end of September, we're harvesting fruit. In August, you're thinking more of golden wheat, breads, a lot of these first harvest things. I mean, yes, technically, okay, there were some fruits, but, oh, sorry guys. You're thinking now we're getting a lot of the good, fresh, juicy apples, and we're getting the pumpkins, we're getting the gourds. Now we're harvesting a lot of reaping what we've sown. We're harvesting a lot of fruit, right? Excuse me. So autumn equinox is a time of balance. But it's more of a time in the summer equinox. We're getting ready to evaluate all of our vision and the balance of putting action with willpower, right? More like the rubber meets the road. So now at the autumn equinox, I think what we're doing more so is we're evaluating what we've already sown. Now we're reaping, and we have to decide what is dead and what is actually fruit. Because when we're going into October, the truth is that the veil is already getting so thin at that point. We're already in the death season, so to speak. And that is not the time. The time now is, let's say you're walking through an orchard, right? And you're harvesting apples. You're going to be looking at the apples. First of all, you're going to see what's already fallen to the ground. Then you're going to be picking apples, you're going to have worms, you're going to have rotting, and you're going to say, well, oh my gosh, why? Let's say maybe you have this one tree and you're just like, I treated this tree just as good as all the others. And, I don't really understand, why was this apple full of worms, and why did this rot? And then sometimes we'll have trees, right? And we know, like, dead ass, like, I know that I should have watered that tree like twice as much, and I don't know why. I just couldn't get to it. There's going to be a lot of different reasons, long story short, for what we reap. Some we will have a very good awareness of, and we'll make marked lessons about that for next season. Some we won't know. We won't know why the worms were in some of those, and some we would have never had control over. But regardless, you know what's amazing? I like to remind people during this season of harvesting is that even though you've got rotten apples that have fallen to the wayside, apples that had worms in them, they will all still return to the soil is one thing. And they will nourish the soil where we will grow new things. Death is still provides somewhat of like organic matter to nurture the soil. That's why it's a good metaphor for doing your shadow work, and why pain serves and suffering serves, and things that cause us to feel like we're dying, etc. Serve to give us foundational organic matter to grow out of. You know what I'm saying? So the second thing as well is that a lot of these bad apples still have some seeds. So you'll even see that, let's say maybe some of those apples just return to dead soil, right? And we're going to enter through the death season and go into winter. But then we'll realize that, lo and behold, some we have new trees sprouting from some seeds that even came from the dead things that we thought were a complete loss. So that's a beautiful lesson too. But, so I think it's very cool to see this encouragement of structure and balance, soul epiphanies arising out of what we've reflected on, where we've returned to ourselves to find our inner lamp, to find our inner guide, to remind ourselves of who we are. And then we get these beautiful epiphanies, these beautiful arising. So I think it's a great mirror. It's a great reflection of autumn equinox time as well. I definitely feel you out there if all of these planets in retrograde are hitting heavy, but I would encourage you to allow your body to slow down. I mean, yes, we still need to be checking off lists. Yes, we still need to be harvesting. We still need to be doing our Virgo season things, right? But let's just give yourself kindness and grace. Because we are very divine, but we are also still very human. So I encourage kindness, grace, be compassionate with yourself, be tender with yourself right now. So we have death. Y'all, please laugh with me for a minute. This is the pre-Raphaelite Tarot, and I just can't with this death card. Every time y'all's like, wow, here we are dying again. Oh my God. Wake me up like after October. Just let me float. Like I can't. Anyway, we could meme the hell out of this death card, but no. Because sometimes when we are reflecting and returning to where we find guidance within ourselves, also I'm hearing crown chakra, and it's reminding me, of the connection between your inner light, your solar plexus, who you are, I am that I am, and the crown chakra, receiving messages from your higher self, from your ancestors and your guides. I think is really important right now, as the veil is going to start continuing to thin more and more as we move towards Samhain and the end of the wheel of the year, the end of the year there. Death is always a chance for rebirth. And well, I think that just reiterates some of the metaphors that we were just talking about with the apple, with the tree, with the organic matter, some of the things that we reap that ended up being rotten or full of worms or whatever, how they return to nourish our soil for more growth. So I think it's super appropriate to see the death card come out there. I think with death and the Hermit, I think it's really important to consider what you're being asked to release as we go towards the dark moon here. What do you need to release? Notice her hands are just I'm sorry, it's just her face every time. What do you need to let go out of your hands? And I like that she has beautiful flowers floating around her. It's almost like honoring the beauty of whatever you had to release. It's like a mourning of grief there. What do you need to let go of? And I think that the Hermit and the Death card working together, again, please still practice that structure and taking action on things, and maybe the death of something is the action that you found you need to take. The death, the release, the no longer having it in your life, no longer being in the karmic toxic relationship, no longer repeating a cyclical pattern with a friend or a family member, or a job. What is it that it needs to go? I think there is, on a timeline spectrum, seeing the Death card, I think it's important that we get some things in alignment within ourselves, and they'll resonate with us, and we'll know exactly what they are, that they need to go before the end of October. Before we go into the winter, there's definitely baggage that we don't need to be carrying anymore, be it relationships, be it jobs, be it old trauma, stories that we are holding on to about ourselves. Whatever the case, take that as it resonates to you. But we're going to need to practice structure with ourselves, boundaries with ourselves, reinforcing new habits, reinforcing new patterns. Also, I'm hearing like letting things go, but not turning around to go back to them. Oh, look at this. Oh, I was going to shuffle, but I'm going to show you. Ooh, y'all. And then we've got the Ace of Swords and the Tower. Whatever leaves you now in this period that you're calling to be let go is going to be like an epiphany that will, again, lead you to a higher soul alignment. The Ace of Swords, I feel like, is clarity of thought that you receive from the full moon, and you know exactly what it is that you're being called to release. Please continue to release that. I'm hearing, please release that, like repetitively in my mind. And I'm just going to say it could be, as far as relationships go, the divine masculine is jumping out to me for some reason, seeing the 2 men in the cards. So I don't know if this resonates with yours, more specific message, but there is a connection with a a divine masculine that needs to be ended. And I think there are separations going on between divine feminine and divine masculine in the collective right now. Even seeing that coming out through a lot of astrologers and tarot readers I respect and follow. The divine feminine is on a deep path of like emotionally traumatic emotional wound healing, leveling up from very toxic, damaging karmic cycles. We're moving away from karmics and moving more closer towards soulmates. And wow, the star, you guys. You know what, though? I'm not surprised, though, because we are close to the autumn equinox, and the energy is very powerful, very transitory, since the veil continues to thin as we get closer to October. You know, that energy, we are just going to, and we're post Pisces full moon, too. Like, I think the star coming out after the death card is such a good encouragement. But I'm going to tell you, too, what's standing out to me is that the star is coming right under the Emperor. It's kind of what I was talking about, the divine feminine evolving in such a way. The divine masculine is either going to have to level up, structure themselves, do their own work in a really serious way, or they will not be able to stay aligned with this high frequency, very rapidly evolving divine feminine energy. That's my personal opinion. You know, we all have divine feminine, divine masculine with us. And when I say these things, I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about energy. So take that as you will. Oh, that's funny. When I laid them back down, I reversed them. Not intentionally at all. It wasn't even looking when I laid them down, honestly, like directly at them. But now it's funny because the divine masculine, you know, the Emperor card. And you know what? Jupiter is in retrograde in Aries right now too. And the Emperor is an Aries card. We're talking about Mars has a lot of association with the Emperor card, which is also in retrograde. Very interesting. Divine masculine out there needing to take their inner self-reflective journey very seriously. Die to a lot of things that are holding them back from soul epiphanies that will keep them on track with these higher frequency, spiritually, emotionally evolving divine feminine energies that they want to keep in their life, or else they gon' stay tethered to this death card and tethered to lower frequency, more toxic patterns and energy that are not going to help them evolve. What do we have right here? Y'all, the King of Cups, okay? Listen. Oh, my divine masculine energy. The King of Cups is really about learning how to find emotional balance. Learning how to find emotional maturity. We're talking about meditation, about journal work, about looking at some cyclical patterns. And again, and if this is in reflection to your own self, you also have divine masculine energy in you as well, vice versa. Again, the yin and the yang and the balance. So if you don't have a divine masculine who's either very toxic, feels very karmic, and is exiting your life right now, this may be, you know, in your inner divine masculine needing to find a little balance as well. I'm sorry. So King of Cups can be a big card that will encourage you to seek ways to balance your own emotions through meditation, through expressing yourself. Sometimes on the shadow side, I feel like the King of Cups is having way too much in your cup and not balancing it, or either having way too little because you're not expressing, you're repressing emotion. So either way, again, masculine and feminine energies within yourself need to be balanced. Does that look like expressing emotions that you've repressed, or is that vice versa for you? And you'll take that as you will. But I think it is really interesting to see the King of Cups come out, right beside the Emperor. because it's like the same energy, but one is not excessively cloaked in ego. You see, he's cloaked in red and he's cloaked in blue, and that's him allowing himself to connect with his emotions, allowing himself to connect with trauma, wound, dark, repressed healing energies, and letting some things come out, doing some work. You know, that's really hard, and it's a big thing that our divine masculine are learning on a whole. And all of that toxic energy doesn't always have to be toxic. You know, people, men, divine masculine, however that represents or takes form in the 3D, whatever, can evolve if the work is done, but it takes a big commitment to the work. You know, even the emperor can evolve to a higher frequency to meet and understand the divine feminine that's represented in the star card. That's eternally, I think it's interesting. It's almost like she's pouring water out over his crown. And that really feels accurate for the position I think that divine feminine energy is in right now in regards to the divine masculine. But it's going to be a matter of what does he want to do with that. You see how the king over here sets on a throne floating above the water. There's so much blue in this card. It's like if he can accept this healing, emotional, evolving frequency, you know, doing the shadow work type of energy here, he can evolve then to more of like a King of Cups energy. Interesting. Again, so many planets in retrograde, a lot of inner work, a lot of revisiting old patterns, remembering old parts of ourselves, reevaluating how we handle things, what we are still carrying as baggage. What do we have here? We've got the Ten of Swords and the Chariot. So it's really time, again, inner balance. Deciding on the vision of who it is that we want to be, knowing that we're divinely guided. You know, we have the stars above the crown, the orb above the crown. We've got very angelic in the skies influence, and all these cards, divine, ancestors, higher self, archetypes, you know, ascended masters, angelic frequencies, however they speak to you, are very present. Again, the veil is thinning more and more. They're going to be much more accessible to help us do a lot of this releasing, shedding, evolving soul epiphany work. You know, I always personally take the Ten of Swords as being a very encouraging card that says the sun will come up tomorrow type of energy. Cycles are completing themselves, but you did not die. You didn't bleed out. You carried the swords like a badass, you know, and here you are facing the horizon. The cycle is complete. You're going to move forward. Balance also, again, I just want to stress that balance is a huge energy in this spread as we move towards the autumn equinox. Release of repressed emotions that haven't been expressed. Conversations needing to be had, but be careful. Again, lots of planets in retrograde. We need patience. We need compassion. We need to do the bulk of our inner work first before we approach some of these conversations, because they can swing way left. Mars, Mercury in retrograde, you know, Pluto. We could go down the list. You know, skeletons are still wanting to be coming out the closet, you know, in a Mercury retrograde. Is anytime some emotion or some information or some whoop, who said what now? Or this came out that was tea like 3 months ago. Excuse me, this type of energy, right? But, the goal is emotional balance. The goal is healing. The goal is enlightenment. The goal is shedding what no longer serves us. So if we keep that in mind, I would say this, evaluate what conversations are important that you even be involved in. Be selective. Again, energetic boundaries. Be selective and choose the highest evolution, the highest frequency that you can when you show up. And I feel like if you can't show up that way, maybe it's better that you just stay in the hermit and not show up to a conversation, especially with this many planets in retrograde. I want to remind you too, with Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, we've got is it Saturn square Uranus? We've got things at play here that have a lot of karmic cyclical patterns closed. Doors have been closed. The endings have been chopped. And here we are. So people are going to be coming back. Again, lots of backpedaling energy with all the retrogrades. So be very selective about where you show up for the highest and best good, the highest representation of your own self. What is going to contribute to my highest evolving right now? And then maybe if not, I'm going to stay over here and mind my own Virgo business and do my cleaning and do my getting my list together and done. I have a clear vision of where it is that I want it to evolve to. Look, we don't want to open any more karmic cycles. We're completing them. Let's not shed our swords because we did a lot of work for that shit and then go let people put more swords in our back. Or Spirit is saying you hand people the swords again and then you say, why did they stab me? And it's like, why did you go hand them another sword? So that's not what we're doing here. Okay. I think that's what I have for you this Monday morning. I want to encourage you of the beautiful Hermit, the Star, Judgment, Death. You know, there's a lot of high evolving to your best version of yourself here. Calling on ancestor spirit guides, you know, and your higher ascended team, your higher self as well, the divine spirit that runs through all things. Meditation, you know, embodiment from an open-centered heart space. Be protective of your energy and just make sure that anything you enter into is going to be very productive for you right now. But if you can express things instead of repress them, but it's in a healthy way that promotes healing, that promotes higher evolving, that promotes emotional balance and emotional maturity, then all for you. Yeah. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a great week. I hope you do okay out there. Stay grounded. Stay in nature. Do things that bring you joy. Do work that is centered around your crown chakra, that is centered also around your solar plexus. Root chakra work is great too right now. I mean, cord cutting, I'm going to continue encouraging as well during this time of the year, just in visualizing that all the energy that doesn't serve the highest and best good, just be returned to the earth so it can be recycled and serve a new purpose. But cord cutting is great. A lot of protection and I encourage and strengthening work because, again, karmic or angry energy that's been cut at the cords is going to be out there. It's going to be vicious with this many planets in retrograde. So I send you all love and light. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, having maybe coffee with me. It's late afternoon now, but yeah, I'm still having coffee. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.